Good morning. Good morning. So we have about 4 minutes to get started. Okay, so how many of you guys are subscribers? Feel free to um, post below in the live chat. So today is the Q&A session. We're going to be talking about spiritual uh, anxiety symptoms. I'm going to be answering any questions about some of any topics that you guys may have. We're going to be talking about angel numbers. We're going to be talking about light working and um, the details of that. So today is Saturday, approximately around 7:57 Pacific Standard Time. My name is Jure. I am actually live in the flesh, ready to start this Q&A session in about 3 minutes. So just give it a little time. Um, in the meantime, I'm going to post a little video, just kind of outlining, you know, some of the things that I do and what I talk about and so on and so forth. So I'm going to post a little video regarding who I am and some of my mantras. So in today's world, it's important to know that every contribution, big or small, it helps. So if you can do anything that you can think of that will make someone smile or make someone's day just a little bit easier, it's always well appreciated. Also, if someone comes to you and makes your day just a little bit easier, it's great to give thanks. And so that's kind of my mantra, especially for today. Every day is a chance to make a difference. When I get up, I like to make sure that my mind is in a frame where I can be productive. And at the end of the day, I take a tally of the things that I do to make sure that I did a contribution that would help change someone's life or that would move myself forward in my spiritual journey. Also, my family. You too could help make a difference by following this Rumble channel and sharing if you like any of the videos and content that is posted today. And I would like to say in advance, thank you for making your contribution and helping us make the world a better place. All right. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So, the way this is going to work, I'm going to be playing a couple of videos to use as reference to the topics that I'm discussing. In the meantime, I will try to answer um, as many of the questions as I can from you guys regarding, your concerns and what have you. So I want to start off talking about spiritual awakening and symptoms there that could be experienced. And myself, spiritual awakening, I found to be a very challenging and beautiful experience. I'm going to be discussing some of the symptoms I've had, some of the signs that you can know that you're having a spiritual awakening and what have you. So I'm going to play this 5 minute video and then I'm going to elaborate on it. Um, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. And I will try to answer them as best as possible. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Love and Light channel. And let's go ahead and enjoy. Spiritual awakening anxiety and panic attacks are caused by the fact that our bodies are changing its vibration and energy levels, and this can be very frightening. It is also partly due to the fact that there is certain information that we uncover about ourselves which changes our perception of the social norms and social behaviors that we are used to. Our priorities suddenly shift, and you may find that you are no longer finding your job fulfilling. You may find that your life is falling apart, and everything about the concept of who you are is shattered into pieces and vanishes. Join me as I will be discussing. So I want to talk about this. Let me pause this segment. I'm going to talk about my experience in that situation. So basically, when I first started off my spiritual awakening, it came as a surprise. The first thing that I found that happened was it was a trip to the emergency room where I thought that I was having a heart attack. Essentially, what I was experiencing is when you're going through a spiritual awakening, the energy shifts. And when the energy shifts and you're starting to be recalibrated, your energy goes so low at one point, and we're talking your life force energy. It goes so low until a lot of your body functions are compromised and everything. And the life force energy comes from your sacral chakra, and that was basically depleted. And this is me looking after the fact, but I was sent to the hospital, rushed to the hospital because I couldn't walk. I had anxiety. My chest was beating, or my heart was beating out of my chest. Um, Arm pain, and it was something else. And so after this point in my spiritual awakening, I started experiencing when I go out to the public, I start experiencing a deep sadness in the world, the negative energy, or all the energies. But first, what I experience is the negative energy. It's almost like the the angels were trying to show me, God was trying to show me, the universe was trying to show me the work that needs to be done, right? So that trying to show me essentially what state we're in as human beings, and the little bit, or excuse me, the way that we have to improve. And so it was kind of daunting in that sense. I feel, seeing the homeless people, and people would just walk by them, and not even give them their attention and say, hey, if you know, there was one person I seen that actually stabbed a dog in the throat. And ironically, it was a place where a whole bunch of people died in an accident. So there was a lot of negative energy there that was accumulated, and you could kind of feel it, and it's really contagious. And you start feeling, or I started feeling in my case, this sadness inside me, this grief, this anguish, you know, thinking about, the energies in the world, the negative energies in the world, and how much I needed to do my part to help. So I wanted to comment on that portion. So let's go ahead and go forward in this video. So my personal experiences with spiritual awakening and spiritual awakening anxiety. Also, I'll be sharing some of the tips that I use in order to make the spiritual awakening transition more comfortable. I would like to add that this video assumes that you have already been examined medically and mentally and have been given a clean bill of health, as the symptom discussed in this video may be caused by something other than the spiritual awakening process. As research and understanding is the first step in calming spiritual awakening anxiety, the symptoms and experiences shared in this video in order to help others may be different for each individual. If you're a healer like myself, the symptoms may be amplified in order for us to be able to learn how to heal ourselves physically before healing others. So let me comment on that section too. One thing I did discover in the spiritual awakening is that um, if you're a healer, it seems like that healers experience a amplified version of the spiritual awakening symptoms. And my experience with it was is that, well, number one, obviously with the heart attack uh, scare, which it really wasn't. What happens, guys, is the stomach, right? The stomach and the heart is really sensitive. And the stomach, as you can see, for example, when you get emotional, what happens? Your stomach gurgles. You want people want to vomit, that sort of thing. The stomach and heart are really, really sensitive to energies. And what happens is with those energy shifts, it causes GERD, which is what I end up having going to. Although I wasn't officially diagnosed with GERD, I end up having GERD. Um, but where I'm going with this, amongst that and other symptoms, healers uh, basically will go through a chain of symptoms that seem to be more extreme than the average spiritual awakening symptom. The reason why is because we are being trained in order to use the our energy to heal and everything. And so each one of those symptoms that I had to learn to hone my skills to treat that particular symptom in order to help other people. For example, when I had a headache and everything, and being a healer or an energy transmuter myself, I can pull and push negative energy, or excuse me, energy in general, or transmute energy. And so, like for example, putting my hand on top of my head, I could pull that energy out, or I could add energy. For example, if a person was in a low energy state, their vital energy, I was being trained to add energy to the sacral, or the sacral and the sacral chakra using my hands and transmuting that energy. So those are a couple of examples. How to radiate energy out, how to absorb energy in consciously, different things like that. And so, if you're a healer, you know you're going to experience the symptoms a little bit stronger than the average person. Let's go ahead and proceed.
During a spiritual awakening, the heart chakra opens up in order to allow us to learn how to feel, love, and express our true emotions. The problem is when this happens, the physical heart becomes more sensitive to energy shifts. In my case, for example, when I would come in contact with the auras of other people, my heart would beat faster or I would experience palpitations. And at times, even when I would come in contact with appliances or fluorescent lights in the ceiling, the electromagnetic energy would actually cause pressure in my chest that I would have to use a grounding technique such as walking in nature barefooted or
Let me go ahead and comment on this particular part too. So remember when I was speaking about the energy shift. So all of your chakras are, because they're being recalibrated. Your aura is essentially, there will be holes put in your aura, and what this causes is energy from all over any electromagnetic energy source. You're going to end up feeling it, including when people walk by. You're going to end up feeling their shifts, and there at times I was actually able to um, glean some of their thoughts or emotions based on their energy infiltrating my aura and everything. A lot of times, in my case, I found that if I'm doing something as simple as going to the store or whatever, when you walk up under those fluorescent lights, you start getting this feeling like you're being drained. You start feeling this it basically feels like you're drained if it's pulling energy, and if you're calibrating and you're pushing energy, you get overloaded and you have that energy bubble in your chest, right? And you're trying to figure out, okay, what's wrong with me, or I can't breathe, or what have you. Or if you're lining your head up under the light, you'll find that you'll get energy headaches on the side of your head. I wanted to say this to help other people, because a lot of times you think, oh my gosh, something's wrong with me. I have a headache. There's a tumor that we overreact. But literally, when you shift the wheel, when you walk out from up under that light, especially what I experienced, um, the headache basically subsided because, believe it or not, most things that happen that you go through pain in, especially acute pain, 90% of it's energetic, 85% easily it's energetic. And with that being said, when one is healing, that's why when someone like Reiki and things like that are good for that because it helps recalibrate the chakras that do speak with or govern how the organs work. So let's go ahead and proceed.
Meditation in order to expel that excess energy. I found that the Wim Hof method was very helpful in calming my nervous system and calming my symptoms. This method basically deals with taking a series of deep breaths in a certain interval in order to calm your autonomous nervous system and clearing any anxiety symptoms you might have. Your hormones can be all over the place during a spiritual awakening. Their primary function from a spiritual standpoint is to carry messages from the chakras to the organs they work with. If there's an imbalance in a chakra, for example, certain stress hormones such as cortisol or adrenaline can be released, which will throw your body into a fight or flight response, making you think that you're dying or there's something serious happening to the body when that's not the case. In my personal experience, I had an increase of adrenaline or epinephrine, which caused my blood pressure to raise, and I had restlessness for literally weeks on end, and I would wake up in the middle of the night during.
Let me speak on this part, the blood pressure, right? The blood pressure is one of the main things that one will experience. Not everybody, but if you have, like in my case, my blood pressure, went up to an elevated state again because obviously there's a chain reaction. The stomach's reacting, then the heart's reacting to the energy shifts. Your electrical impulses in your body are reacting, which control the muscles in your arteries and in your veins, right? This is me looking back in hindsight, what I learned after studying and figuring out what was going on with me in that scary moment. And so, with that being said, your blood pressure is going to skyrocket. And that's one thing to always check. If you feel that you're having a spiritual awakening, and you know that you don't have any chronic symptoms and you're perfectly healthy for the most part, but there's something, and you have a really good, your intuition is telling you, always follow your intuition. Your intuition is telling you there's something happened that is possibly not the normal physical symptoms. It could be because of that. So considering that particular thing, it could be the spiritual awakening shift, especially if you already know yourself to be sensitive to energies.
The day I was very fatigued and sometimes lacked the strength to go upstairs. I had two physical exams and blood work done in two different places and was given a clean bill of health and was just given instructions to rest. The digestive system is also sensitive to energy shifts. This is why emotional trauma can lead to an imbalance in your solar plexus chakra and cause indigestion or acid reflux. In my case, I would experience bloating or pain in the stomach area that would indirectly raise my blood pressure, and I would feel pain in the underarm or in my shoulder area that wouldn't allow me to sit in a certain posture. I alleviated this through drinking more water in order to clean my system. Also, I would cut my food into thick, smaller portions and took the time to chew my food well in order to help with digestion. My body would not allow me to consume anything that had to do with dairy products or that contained meat at this time in my spiritual awakening, with the exception of yogurt, which has the bacteria to help digest lactose. And this.
I definitely want to comment on this portion. Now, this this was interesting to me because before my spiritual awakening, I often ask why, like I know some of the other religions, like some of the other religions, like Islam or what have you, they don't eat meat, and even the churches will tell you, or most religions will tell you, keep your temple clean, right? And growing up, one thinks, well, wait a minute, it's just something that is a simple dogma, that they tell you to do to follow some rule. But looking back on it, I could understand what happens is these uh, these things called literally called low vibration, and the reason why they call low vibration is they take energy. Low vibration is simply the lack of energy, right? This is number one, something I learned in honing my energy transmitter skills, right? And I put two and two together. For example, when they say negative energy and positive energy, I learned that it works the same way in the spiritual world. What is negative energy? The lack of energy because it's negative. What is positive energy? The accumulation of energy. So, what happens when we get negative energy, right? Or what happens when we're hungry? What happens when we're tired? We get cranky. We get impatient. We get, argumentative at times. What happens when we're happy or when we have a lot of energy? We get happy. We can jump higher. We can. We feel like, depending on your personality. In my case, I feel like being more social. You know, because that's one of the things that comes with having high energy. So what happens is things like meat, any dairy products, cheese, especially meat or red meat, the issue with them is they take a lot of energy to digest. Even if you look at the animal planet, you'll see some of the meat eaters. When they eat a big a piece of meat, they have to lay up under that tree for a while, and it puts you to sleep. It puts them to sleep, excuse me, because it takes a lot of energy to digest. In the meantime, because that body has low energy, those other functions are compromised, and that includes anything like your pineal gland. All that's compromised in your connection um, to the spiritual world. And in the spiritual awakening, if you have those energies bombarding your system and taking out of your system because it's trying to recalibrate, it's going to cause some problems. So, what I learned and I wanted to share this is that uh, the way I thought, or the way I found out, is that the negative energy is simply a lack of energy. And so when I'm doing my healing, right, a lot of times, say for example, if you're sick, when your immune system's low, it's because you have low energy. What happens when you get sick? Your energy goes. What happens when you eat sweets, right? When you eat sweets, it lowers your immune system because it takes away energy. What happens to a hyper child when you give them Ritalin or when you give them more sugar? They go to sleep. And so thinking about this is like, okay, now I know, sometimes when I'm healing, I need to give energy. Maybe if it's not an acute problem in a certain area of the body, I need to put energy in their, say if they have the flu, I need to put energy in their sacral chakra or their vital energy core in order to heal them so their body can have more energy to fight off any symptoms or what have you. So let's proceed.
I use as my own personal hack. I could not eat processed sugars or anything containing greasy fat such as french fries. I later discovered that these types of foods take a lot of energy from the body to digest and block certain functions such as third eye functionality. For this reason, every time I would try to eat some of these types of foods, I learned that they caused more trips to the bathroom as my body was trying to purge itself of this energy and would not let it return. The Earth is being updated to a five-dimensional quantum energy. Also, there is a chaos energy that is stronger than before. This causes challenges to the brain during a spiritual awakening, and it literally is being rewired not only to support the changes in the nervous system, but to process that quantum energy and messages from the spiritual realm. In my case, I felt a certain level of mental fatigue and forgetfulness. My nervous system would be dealing with what seemed to be a cloud of negativity when I would walk in public.
This I want to comment on too. The brain rewiring. Okay, a lot of times a lot of times this is associated with certain symptoms that you may experience. In my case, tinnitus. Raise your hand if you ever had tinnitus. So, if in looking at one of the things that cause tinnitus is obviously tinnitus is not in the ear, but it's the brain saying, "Hey, um, there's a sound coming in or a lack thereof, and I don't know what to do with it." And so, like any of the sound systems, microphone systems, you're going to get that high pitched ringing, or you're going to get that ringing or hissing because your brain doesn't know what to do with it. Also, there's brain fog. You may find that you all of a sudden forgetful for a range of time, or you seem like you're walking. It seems like you're just kind of going through the motion, similar to the effect that when we're driving, if you ever driven, and you're on the highway and you're intending on getting somewhere, and then all of a sudden you start daydreaming, and then you look around and you're at your destination, and you're trying to figure out, well, wait a minute, how did I get here without wrecking? You know, that's the similar effect that it can have sometimes when your brain is being rewired, being recalibrated to support the higher energy levels that your body is receiving, because there's those physical implications that happen in this change also. So I just want to point out. So if you ever had tinnitus or anything like that, you went to the doctor, you've gotten checked out and everything, and you don't have any chronic illnesses relating to tinnitus, it is quite possible or is an option to check out if it has something to do with something spiritual. All right, so let's proceed.
As I would feel the emotions of others, it made me want to shelter myself in my home for a time. Material or luxury items didn't have the same value that I used to place on them before, and I would question previous traditions and beliefs that I were taught. At times, I felt that my body was going through the motions as I would walk in public as if something else was in control of my consciousness and I was just along for the ride.
This I want to comment on too. Material items and things, they don't have the same value. Where am I going with this? In my experience, for example, you figure out when you figure out that you're a spirit living in a physical body, right? And we've all heard this. A lot of most of us have heard this, but not only when you figure the concept, but when you figure out a little bit more of how deep the rabbit hole goes, if you will, you really experience, if for lack of a better term or analogy, what they talk about in the movie Matrix, right? And in my case, it was revealed to me, or I seen it as all this stuff, the programming of the media and everything, things that they do to get the system work, in which we are all a part of. You need to buy. You need to spend. You need to work and make money, money, money. You're not living unless you're at a certain standard. All of that is, in my experience, is the matrix. That simple programming, that illusion, right, of the matrix, right? And so, in my case, when I figured that out, especially as we get older, when the person gets older or better, me and my wife and I like to joke that we're not getting older, we're getting better, better and better every day. So when you get older, you become more spiritual because after we've experienced certain things and after we've worked out certain things, experienced some joy and experienced, all of the emotion of the rainbow, we start realizing, well, wait a minute, I really don't need, or I don't need certain things in my life. I do need other things. I want to be more spiritual. I want to do my part. I want to help you. We start getting more humanitarian in general. And a lot of times, because spiritual awakening, depending on your soul contract, can happen at most any ages. Most times, in my experience researching and what have you, and living, most times it's going to happen toward the middle age, right? Some people they come to this earth and they reincarnate, and they're evolved enough in their previous life that they may or may not have to wait as long for it. But for the most part, the spiritual awakening starts, around middle age when the light bulbs turn on. Like the first light bulb turned on when you're 30, and then the second light bulb turned on when you're 40. You realize, hey, you realize really what you want in your life. And so around that time is when that happens. But in general, you'll experience that uh, you don't need certain things, that they try to uh, tell you that is necessary to live a certain life. And then again, you find out, like in my case, it's like, okay, these things are borrowed. Everything that you um, have on this earth, including your body, is borrowed, you know? And so it's like, you look at people who are supposedly having power, anybody that you could imagine that has power, right? All of that's the illusion. And what happened is they give us the illusion that they have power over us. But what the spiritual awakening helps uncover, right, as well as a lot of times living long enough, is that what happens to this person if they die? If you die, everything you own, all the mansions, all this and that, it's good to have material things, right? It's borrowed. So there's no need to steal, kill, and destroy over these things. This is what one of those things that came, to my mind, when I was experiencing my spiritual awakening, or the jobs that we have. We're we're working for a life that is borrowed. Our house is borrowed. The struggles to keep up our house, car, and everything is borrowed. The only thing that is not borrowed is our love for our family, our friends, our significant others. Those things come to you uh, through different lifetimes, right? Those things are um, intangible, if you will. And I like to quote sometimes the movie Fifth Element, where if you ever seen Fifth Element, I like how um, Besson, I like his mantra when he makes these movies, right? Zorg, if you will, he was the evil guy on the movie. He was being called by the evil planet and said, "Hey, how are the stones?" And he said, "We get the stones to you. It wasn't easy. My cost us triple." What did the evil entity say to him? He said, "Money is of no importance. I want the stone." All this stuff, in the spiritual world, in the world that is really matters, in the grand scheme of things, this is really an illusion, right? So for me, I figured the illusion was the programming. So, example, you know, well, uh, Pa, with my friends or family or whatever, they say, Pa, I want to spend time with you. What happens? A lot of times we'll say, or Mom, in this case, I have to work. Well, I would love to, which is true. You have to work. But I found out that that's a limiting belief. A lot of times, or more times than we know, there is things that we can do to compromise, right? Especially if you're working from home. If it's even, and so I learned if it's even possible that I can call my boss and everything and arrange something to work from home, it's basically, especially if you're following your intuition, it's very good to try and do so, especially if you feel that you can do that without jeopardizing, because obviously there's a balance between work, the physical work, and spiritual, right? In spirituality, everything is not spiritual all the time. And that's what I learned too. It's about balance because even the ego, right? Even the ego, they say, well, when we um, when we are awakened, the ego dies. In my experience, it was simply not true. The ego doesn't die. You're going to need the ego as long as you're on this physical world, right? You're not going to need the ego. When the ego dies is when we go to the 5D or a situation where the ego is not needed in this physical world. What is true for spirituality, what I figured I'd found out in my case, is the balance, right? The balance of living, the balance of doing your soul mission, serving and being a humanitarian, the balance of giving, but not giving until it hurts. Some people try to, most people are taught to give until it hurts, right? That is not the ideal, especially if I find my experience with spirituality. Giving until it hurts is like helping someone in the mud and you fall in. A lot of times, my angels came to me and let me know, hey, these are the areas you have to, you know, you can work on, right? It's all right to give, but you need to give back to yourself so that you can form a cycle of abundance so that you can keep on helping others without falling into the mud yourself, right? And so, on that note, I'm going to let this video play out, and then I want to change to a movie called The Angel Number. We'll talk
This
more
is a
about.
typical symptom, and for me, eventually passed through doing soul work for personal improvement. Despite the symptoms discussed in this video, spiritual awakening is a great thing. And as with any great thing, there's a process to go through in order to experience that greatness. I hope you found my video informative and helpful. Please subscribe to my channel in order to be notified.
Angel numbers are all around us. They can appear on license plates, building numbers. They can appear in nature, when we're chatting with friends, or even in our dreams while we're sleeping. They are the universe's way to tell us important messages about our lives, a message that breaks barriers of language and cultural beliefs. In this video, I will be explaining some of the little known facts about angel numbers, sequences, and tips on figuring out if a number is indeed a message, and what to do when you find an angel number. So this, let me go ahead and comment on this. So essentially, angel numbers, right? Angel numbers really do transcend the matrix, right? Which is, in my experience, or what I'm referring to, is the programming from anything, whether it be media, religion, the teaching that we were taught. Now, the programming doesn't necessarily, my referring to the program doesn't necessarily infer bad or good, positive or negative. It just is. We were taught certain things when we grew up, and which basically gave way to a programming, which we uh, added, which influenced our view of our world, right? And angel numbers transcend that, right? So you will find that a lot of people will say that angel numbers are new age. Angel numbers are not new age, because saying that an angel number is new age would be saying that God's sign is just happening in the modern world and not in the biblical times, and not back in the Egyptian times. So it's new age, right? The universe, God, the angels, your loved ones that were went to the other side. They've always, that concept has been around since the beginning of man, at least, and obviously before, because the spiritual world has always existed. Um, Basically, what happens is, as we evolve, we become more cognizant, just like in a spiritual awakening, we become more aware of, again, how deep the rabbit hole goes, how they communicate, some of the different methods or individual methods that they communicate with a certain person, right? Some people have, you've heard like the clairaudience, the clairsentience. Some people feel more. Some people see more. Some people, uh, you know, uh, think more. So in my case, a lot of things come to me in my thoughts, images, and everything, because I'm more, my sun, if you will, my sun sign is connected to Mercury in my astrology, which has to do with more of the thought. And so a lot of times I'll get things sent to me through images or through uh, hearing, if you will, telepathically, the messages coming through my head or what have you. And it's basically intuition. It sounds crazy when you say it. Any of this is interesting spirituality. It sounds crazy when you say it out loud because we were trained to think it was crazy when you say it out loud. But once you experience, you have to experience it and live it in order to properly validate it. So, but these angel numbers, they do transcend all of that. So, with that said, let's go ahead and proceed. Although numbers exist, such as 123, which means spiritual advancement, 444 and 1111, which mean angelic protection, and twin flame or soulmate numbers that started in with the same number, such as 212 and 2020, angel numbers don't necessarily have to follow a specific pattern. One helpful tip to determine if you're indeed seeing a message from the universe is that angel numbers give you the feeling that time is slowing down as it lingers in front of your eyes. It's like that digital clock that doesn't seem to change its time. And there's usually an additional sensation in your gut to pay attention. The best thing to do after seeing an angel number is to look it up in your favorite search engine and remember the last thought you had or what you were doing before you saw it. When you see the same number on a regular basis, this means that there's something urgent that applies to you. All right. So this part I like. I like to reiterate an angel number in a situation of figuring out how to know if an angel number is saying a certain message to you. Kind of like what I was referring to. Think of the last thought or feeling you have. It's all tied to your intuition, right? A lot of people, will say, especially when we get past a certain age or we lived a certain amount of time, that when my intuition told me to do something and I didn't do it, I found that I did not come out on top or I came out with the short end of the stick. But each time I followed my intuition, um, I ended up making progress or ended up seeing positive results. This goes back to even when we're little and when we're taking tests. Remember those tests that they give you, those assessment tests that they give you in school, especially way back in elementary, third and fourth grade, right? What did they always say? When you pick an answer, if you're not sure, go with your first answer. They started saying that then, and they say that all through your life. You hear that? Go with your gut instinct, because your gut instinct is going to lead you 9 times out of 10 in the right direction. In my experience, personal experience, it was 10 times out of 10. Following your gut, right? It helps you make those significant choices or those correct choices. Now, the angel numbers, among other signs that you may see in the world, because there's an infinite amount of ways that the universe, the angels, God can communicate with you. And so those angel numbers are just the extension of that. And when you start seeing angel numbers, it's actually a compliment to even start seeing them because you have to be on a certain vibration level to even starting to see angel numbers. So if you ever see one in general, no matter what it is, if you start seeing that pattern, it's actually a blessing and consider it a compliment. So with that being said, let's go ahead and proceed. If you see angel numbers in a constant sequence, such as 111, 211, and 311, that seem to increment every 10 minutes, it means that you have been put on call by your guardian angel. And although nothing urgent is happening now, more specific messages will come as you advance in your life path. When you look at these numbers and you look them up in your search engine, those numbers will usually be filled with general words of encouragement. Angel numbers will happen at a closer time interval as your vibration gets higher and you are promoted, if you will, in your life path. For example, you could see angel numbers once a day and suddenly once an hour, and then all of a sudden in a pattern of every 10 minutes. This is a blessing as it means that you are strengthening your connection with your guardian angel and or your higher self. Thank you for staying in. So let me comment on this pattern, right? Just before I stated that to see an angel number in general, you have to be on a certain vibration, or it denotes that you're in a certain positive vibration. And so obviously, the idea is to keep a positive vibration in spirituality. That is easier said than done. Let's be real about it. We have our days, especially when it has to do with things like, if you guys are familiar with astrology, the transits in your horoscope, right? The transits in your horoscope literally talks about how the planets align. I always grew up thinking that that was cliche before my spiritual awakening. I thought all of that was cliche because the media has made certain aspects of spirituality chic, which has its good and negative connotations. It's good because the word is spread out. It's negative because a lot of times people don't take it seriously because, oh, it's another fad that's just going to come and go. When in reality, spirituality is the basis of why we're here. It is the thing that denotes what our true self is, as our physical body is not our true self, but a Halloween costume, if you will, in the grand scheme of things. So, so in the case of these angel numbers, once you see these uh, vibration, or once your vibration raises, right, and you're promoted, you're going to start seeing those the closeness in the intervals. First, will literally, like in my case, I started seeing them. It seemed like random, but it was kind of like, wait a minute, what is this? And then I have that effect where I would look at the clock, and then the number would just seem to sit there, right? Would seem to sit there, and then all of a sudden it started happening like every week, or a certain pattern was happening. I'm like, why am I seeing these numbers? And I went to study on the internet, and there's explanations. Oh yeah, your brain is just trained to look at numbers and see patterns. It's nothing more than X, Y, Z. And then as I became, and this is before my spiritual awakening, even as I became more and more attuned, because I'm a sensitive myself. Um, as I became more attuned to these energies, I start seeing, well, it would happen every day. And then once my spiritual awakening started happening, I start seeing them every hour, and then these patterns happen that you see a lot of times people ask about. Why am I seeing things like, for example, they'll say, why am I seeing things like 111, 121, 131? Why am I seeing things like 211, 311, 411, or 1010, 1111, 4444? Any of those combinations, right? Why am I seeing those? That is because, again, you have literally raised your vibration. You're more in contact with the spiritual world, and a lot of times what happens is once you're on that level, you'll get the other types of communication because you'll see them as you kind of poking that veil in spiritual communication, where images can come through more clearer, visions can come through more clearer. Your third eye gets more accurate and more sensitive and everything. You start seeing different things, and that will amplify or actually help you find out the true nature of how your intuition works. Okay, so I just wanted to throw that in. To the end of this video, I hope you found the tips from my personal experience helpful. Be sure to like and subscribe, as there will be more videos to come. See you next time, and remember to let your love and light shine. Okay, so I'm going to throw in a bonus here, right? Because we were talking about, before I talk about light work and everything, I'm going to throw in a bonus about balancing things in the shadow self and everything, because this is something that has a lot to do with spiritual awakening, the dark night of the soul. That's that part where your life starts changing, and you get to the lowest portion of your life. It feels that everything's going against you, and there's these shifts that's going on. And it also talks about, some of the things that we were taught, how it influences how we look at ourselves, how we treat others, how it causes us to point the finger at times at other folk. I'm gonna let this video play all the way through, right? One part I like is certain aspects when I talk about, where good things that are perceived to be good, you know, are really uh, are bad. It really has nothing to do with it. It's all about balance. And another thing, the dark night of the soul. So those are two of the things I want to emphasize on it. But I'm going to let this video play all the way through with no interruptions, and then I will go through to the light working subject. So here's your bonus.
Spiritual duality suggests that we all have a part of ourselves that we're proud of and bring to the light, as well as a shadow self which contains traits we'd rather hide. These traits often manifest as emotional reactions or negative behaviors, as ignoring them can lead to unresolved triggers and self-sabotage. Shadow work involves exploring and integrating our shadow selves, including repressed emotions, fears, and desires to foster personal growth and healing. Watch this video till the end as I walk through some healing tips inspired by my research as well as my own personal experiences, as by balancing and integrating our lighter and shadow selves, we connect with our unconscious mind to uncover insights and embrace self-acceptance. Don't go away. Society has taken on a judgmental "you need to stop" or "you need to change" approach when it comes to self-improvement. This causes us to suppress traits we're taught to believe are shameful, when in reality, improving yourself is all about balance. When we recognize and face our shadow, we become whole and balanced. Our shadow self helps with boundary setting and gives us the personal power needed to create harmony with our lighter selves, without the feeling that we need to change the essence of who we are. Also, we can take control of these traits so that they will no longer affect our lives negatively. Facing your unconscious shadow requires self-awareness, courage, and sometimes the support from a therapist, but is essential for improved mental health and personal growth. Knowing your shadow side will also improve your relationships. When we can accept and understand ourselves, we are more able to accept and understand others. An inspirational thought process I personally use to help with the acceptance of my shadow traits is to remember that one can also have too much of things that are perceived to be good or innocent, such as the scenario I like to use called the golfer and the drinker. Golfing is universally accepted to be a positive life influence, while drinking alcohol in some cases is taught to have a negative life influence. The golfer and the drinker in this scenario both have a family, but in this case, the golfer has an addictive personality and the drinker has a balanced mindset. In many family outings, the golfer is not present because they are busy golfing, which can hurt family relationships. On the other hand, the drinker likes to enjoy a glass of wine at a family get-together or have a drink or two every once in a while when they're going out dancing with their spouse or friends. This can build relationships. The moral of the story is while good and bad are relative to cultural and personal views, balance is needed in everything. The benefit of shadow work is that most of the time, our shadow traits are actually valuable parts of our personality. Your shadow doesn't just hide traits that people consider undesirable, it can also hide amazing parts of yourself, like creativity or independence. But if they're truly weaknesses, you're better able to address them when you bring them out to the light so that you can understand and maybe better manage them. For example, you have commitment issues. Every time someone gets close to you, there's a tendency to push them away. Over time, you begin to create a shadow journal to reflect on past patterns stemming from your childhood and determine that the trust issue started as a result of one or both of your parents rarely committing to plans to spend quality time with you. Even though this pattern negatively affected your personal relationships, there's an equal appreciation for the independence you've gained, which has helped you confront life challenges. You later determine there's a fear of being let down again, and your true desire is for someone to care and support you. Knowing this inspires the need to plan, to balance the need for independence in order to maintain a healthy social and personal life while maintaining a sense of self. It's hard to discuss confronting your shadow without including a spiritual phase called the dark night of the soul. The dark night in this scenario represents the hardship and pain the soul meets on the way to connect to its divinity. For example, you're excited about your plans to save money this year, and out of nowhere, your house and car starts breaking down. This puts a strain on your relationship or marriage and causes you anxiety, which affects your health. And with that comes a multiple visit to the hospital, which makes medical bills pile up, and you feel that you're at a crossroads or you're having a bad streak. This is a normal process in a spiritual evolution, contrary to popular belief, and is not happening because the universe or God is punishing us. Once you've created a plan with milestones and deadlines that are realistic for you, it is important to add self-care methods like meditation or doing things that make you feel rewarded and giving thanks to the universe for what you currently have and your accomplishments so far. This will help boost your morale and your willingness to keep improving. Before I go, I want to leave you with a personal mantra I use that may sound familiar. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Please like and subscribe so I can continue to bringing you this great content.
All right. So with that being said, um, again, you know, I like to use the serenity prayer because a lot of times, when we're trying to improve ourselves or we're trying to achieve that balance in self improvement, what was the other reason for me playing this video, right? But the other reason for me playing this video is because the spiritual awakening, the whole gist of it is for us to be able to learn to give everything to the universe, God, Jesus, you right, who Buddha, whoever you serve, right? Give it to them, give it to the people who know, so that we can focus on bettering ourselves. You will find, or in my case, I found that any of the perceived issues I had, or problems I had, or dilemmas I had, they were still there and they never moved, right? But when I took my time to better myself, right, better myself as the foundation for my life, everything else physically, spiritually, and emotionally fell in place. To give you an example of the effect, it's like, okay, I'm having this thing on my mind, right? I'm going to take a walk, or I'm going to work out, or I'm going to do something with the family. That thing on your mind would still be on your mind. But what happens is because instinctively or intuitively, because we did something to better ourselves in that moment, that problem took a back seat. Our vibration was raised, and it came. And a lot of times, we either figured out, well, wait a minute, I'm able to see a little bit beyond the problem, and I can look at this problem from a exterior perspective and see, well, wait a minute, there are some plans here that I can do. We start getting creative about the dilemma, or we start finding epiphanies about the dilemma for having done something to raise our vibration to better ourselves, right? And when we're talking spiritual awakening and spirituality, that's what it is. We are not here, right? The goal is to be perfect in the grand scheme of things, but we're not on this physical world to be perfect. And that's a common misconception, right? The overall goal is to be perfect, right? But here, we're here to learn balance and to learn to love unconditionally in spite of the situation, in spite of what we're going through. Like in my case, right? Uh, Being a light worker, I learned these things, and because I was able to better myself in that sense and better my perspective and the things that go along with that, I was able and we received angel that said, now that you've learned this, right, we congratulate you, but we want to take what you've learned and help others. Take your experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and help others because others may be going through the same thing. And that's what I'm here today, doing my light working duty. So, with that being said, um, basically, there are certain things in our personality that's just going to be in our personality. And those things we have to learn to balance. We have to learn which fights. A lot of times within ourselves, we need to, or excuse me, which battles we need to fight, and which battles we need to uh, put aside, or which things we need to balance. Right? That's just a part of us. It's not giving up. It's thinking strategically to find a balance and not trying to be perfect. Because what happens is when you try to be perfect, chances are you're going to end up lowering your vibration because you're going to get frustrated with yourself because of different teachings that we've been shown in our childhood and up. You're going to be pointing the finger at yourself, and everything that we do to ourselves, it mirrors to other people. If we point the finger at ourselves, we're going to point the finger at others. If we're lying to ourselves, we're going to end up doing something in certain contexts to deceive others, whether we know it or not. But if we're true to ourselves as a foundation, we're going to end up being true to each other, all right, true to other people. Because you'll often find, and this is what I found out, when they say, and we're talking about light working, all right, I'm going to segue into that, and letting your light shine. Light working is not about preaching, contrary to popular belief. Light working is not about preaching. It's about some teaching sometimes, but the main thing is to let your light shine and inspire people, to teach people through your example. How many of us found someone that really inspired us just because of the way they were? They didn't have to say that they were good people. It just was. For example, let's talk about if I'll use the example about basketball. To quote or to paraphrase Michael Jordan, there was this debate at one time between the old Michael Jordan and what was the other player? I forget what his name was, but which one was the greatest and everything. And LeBron James, there you go. And Michael Jordan commented to one of the things that LeBron said. He said, "Hey, I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest." Michael Jordan said, "Hey, I never had to say I was great. If you're great, people are just going to know it. I let other people say I'm great, right? He said, my game speaks for me. So in that sense, I use that analogy because Michael Jordan, he didn't go out and preach, if you will, and say, hey, I'm great. In order to be like me, you got to do this and that and the other. He had his basketball camps and he taught and everything. But when it came to basketball in specific, he just went out there and played his heart out. He just went out there and gave it his all. And then everybody started saying, this guy is great, right? And that's the same concept that I look at spirituality is that spirituality being a light worker, right? And letting your light shine even in the churches. What do they say? What's that song? This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, right? It's not even about anything that is denoted in just religion. It's it's something in general. Letting your light shine means you are who you are, and because you have focused on bettering that self, and the more you focus on bettering that who you are, people are going to see that this person is this or that and the other and be inspired by it. So, with that being said, I'm going to segue into the light working video, and we'll start from there. Thank you for tuning into the Love and Light channel. My name is Jure. Like the title suggests, who are light workers? Myself, I like to think of it as a position. For example, a teacher. All of us have the potential to be a teacher. Some people are naturally inclined. It doesn't mean that one is better than the other, as we all came with the ability to be a teacher. Some just train to be a teacher, some teach from the soul with or without training. And in comparison to the world population, most do not teach at all. This is similar to the lightworker concept and lightworker gifts. Maybe you have energy healing or transmutation abilities, psychic ability, you're a skilled nurturer, caretaker, a nature conservationist, or environmental builder, or have a knack for teaching and leading, or maybe you're interested in a combination of these traits. But these basically are traits that are much needed, especially with today's society. And a light worker is just a person who voluntarily gives what he or she. I'm going to pause there. Just like what I was saying before, light working is about letting your light shine. All of us are sent here with certain gifts and talents and things that we can contribute in order to raise vibrations and in order to better this earth, right? It's not about tree hugging. It's not about, being hippies. It's not about being activists. It's none of that. It's about, and when I say that, it's not about where I'm coming from. It's not about that. It's about being yourself, but a better version of you and everything else. So there's nothing that can be categorized. It's beyond being categorized. It's just something that's just going to be, right? Now, let's talk about some of the light worker questions and everything that I've fielded before. So a lot of times when we talk about light working or when the contact light working comes up, we talk about sometimes the Palladians and the star seeds and everything, right? And this is true. Some of them come up and they talk about reincarnated angels and what have you. All of that is very true, right? One thing that I want to add to that is just because a person may or may not be a part of any of these groups does not mean that they cannot be a light worker. Every single person is put here because they have a specific positive thing to add to the collective, to add to this global mission that is to raise us to a fifth dimension. What is this fifth dimension? How will it be? Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you, because I'm living it now. Most people will say that the fifth dimension is just going to be this global thing where everybody at one time is going to be living the exact same thing and it's going to be in a utopia, right? That is not necessarily true and it is not my experience. In my experience in researching and living, the raising of one's conscious, right, is going to be putting you in your own fifth dimensional aspect, your own fifth dimensional stage, because you're going to still be sitting here in this physical world, right? Let me give an example of what I experienced, and I hope this inspires you. And this is my little addition to this light working thing. Let's talk about this personal experience of mine with this, the fifth dimension, and then we'll go from there with the light working. The fifth dimension is For example, you ever have a bad day and it seems like everything is working against you. You meet these people who challenge you, all this stuff, right, is happening to you. And you're like, why is this happening to me? Why are these chain of events happening? Because it depends on your vibration, right? If you're in a lower vibration, lower things happen because certain entities, certain energies, certain beings will see you and they register you and they start influencing you. If you're on a higher vibrations, right? On the other hand, let's talk about the fifth dimension. If you're in a higher vibration, you're gonna be, wait a minute, I had a good day today. It seems like for the most part, people were cooperative and it seemed like I had one of these days that everything just went right, or the things that was not totally right, it seemed like issues resolved themselves. I had to do my part because one always has to do their part, but the issue wasn't as bad as it seemed. And I had a really good time with my family, and everybody was happy. It seems like everybody's around you, and they started looking in my face and saying, "Hey, you're glowing," and this and that and the other. That is the concept, all right? That is the concept of how the fifth dimensional will work. And especially in my experience, you'll be here, right? You'll be here, but because spirituality is about raising consciousness, and consciousness is individual, is personal, right? Your own personal world. You remember how they said, well, everybody's going to have their own personal heaven. That has been said. The movie The Lovely Bones, even if you've seen The Lovely Bones, so there's parts in there I didn't like too well about the violence and things, but in a nutshell, when she went to the other side, a lot more was possible. She was able to have her own heaven, if you will. You've heard the term heaven on earth. It will literally be like experiencing heaven on earth. Now, this is not saying that there's not going to be another end to that where you're going to go into an actual dimension or not. To be honest with you, none of us know. We all say it in religion and in spirituality. We don't know. We can only know what we live and experience, right? So, from my experience, right, I am living the fifth dimensional. Now, mind you, it is hard to stay there because your vibration shifts. This is why it's very important to meditate and what have you. So, with that being said, I'm going to go back to light working. So, when you're light working, if we can stay on that physical, or excuse me, that fifth dimensional vibration, fifth dimensional things will happen to you, and you'll be able to inspire others with your fifth dimensional light. And the whole idea is for everybody to have their version of that consciousness. So we all will be a brick that adds to the house, if you will. And so if everybody is um, living on that fifth dimensional light, it inspires you to want to love. It inspires you to want to help. It inspires you to want to be better. It inspires you to be less violent. It inspires you to be more humanitarian. What happens when you win something or you get happy? You want to tell somebody. You want to socialize, depending on your personality. But for the most part, people want to socialize. I feel good. I want to make somebody else feel good. This is the real world perspective of how my personal experience with the fifth dimension has helped. Am I always on the fifth dimension? No. Let's talk right, right. The goal is because there's a cycle. The more negativity in the world, there's going to be shifts. And all these changes are happening so that the fifth dimensional consciousness, this hive mind, if you will, it's interesting to say that because it sounds like something from a sci-fi movie, but this hive mind connection, because we're all connected, will keep generating that fifth dimensional energy, and we'll all be on the same plane. That's what's going to change the earth, because and not just the earth physically, but the earth on every sense, because all of us, or at least a grand part of it, everybody's not going to evolve and everybody's not going to be awakened, excuse me. But we're all going to be like, well, maybe we could do this better. Maybe we could be more conscious and aware of this thing. Or, maybe we can lend more of a helping hand. Maybe I'm going to treat somebody how I want to be treated, right? So that's the fifth dimension, and now that relates to light working. Now let's go back to the main thing about light working. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, so light working, you got your teachers, you got your healers, you got your your people who just want like to do things. You don't have to be a teacher, healer, or spiritual teacher. You don't have to be Buddha. You don't have to be Jesus. No, you just be yourself. I like the cartoon that Disney had called Soul, and everybody in there had some sort of a check it out if you haven't already, had some sort of gift that they came down with. And when they did that, like it could have been singing, it could have been teaching, it could have been, making music or what have you, painting. When they did that and you get in a zone because your heart's into it, your soul's into it. Some people they feel alive when they sing or they do a certain thing, right? Well, this one character, they didn't have anything in particular that she thought one would consider special, right? She just liked to walk, right? She just liked to walk. And she felt she looked down on herself and she thought everybody was going to look down on her because she didn't have a special skill. When in reality, that skill was special because it made her feel good, and in others, it made others feel good because one could inspire someone else by walking or by your indirect energy you get from doing something you love. Let's segue to Forrest Gump. Most of us here know about. You can raise your hand or comment or what have you. Yes, I am live, so you can comment and I'll see it. Most of us know about Forrest Gump. Well, what I like about the Forrest Gump and the way, uh, let's even give kudos to the writers and the actors of Forrest Gump. Not only just the character, but what they did is they somehow found a way to give you a little bit of a key to how to get to the fifth dimension through that Forrest Gump character. What did they do? Forrest Gump had all types of dilemmas come through in that movie or in his story, we say. But because he was simple minded, he did not add the extra complication that we all do to an otherwise uncomplicated situation. 90 something percent of our problems that we experience on earth is not half as complicated as we make them because we have those limiting beliefs from our previous teachings. We complicate things, right? Now, for example, when he was in the army and he was like, hey, I got in the army and this and that and the other, most people think basic training is hard. He said, well, I got in the army and it was not hard. All you got to do is make your bed, sit up real straight, and every time drill sergeant asks something, you say, yes, drill sergeant. And that's how he looked at it. The character looked at it. But that's how it works, right? When you're light working and you're in that spiritual or fifth dimension mindset, once you get in that mindset, you will be able to teach other people to look at things more simple because you're looking at things more simple minded. Number one, you have help. We have our spirit guides, we have God, we have the ascended masters, we have the angels helping us. You have your loved ones who have passed to help us. You know, you can teach about that thing. But if you have nothing special, if you don't have the healing, you can be, you can be you and keep bettering you, and other people will see your light and you're a light worker, right? So I'm going to let this video go on, and I'm going to comment on certain other aspects of it. He has from their soul in order to help unify the collective. To me, that is what light working is. Now, myself, when I became a light worker, I went through certain experiences in my life in my spiritual journey that was very confusing, that
They were gifts and other abilities that came that I didn't understand. And I had to learn them over the course of my lifetime and everything. And later was able to use them in order to facilitate my doing of my part to heal the planet. And this is all that a light worker position, if you will, requires. Again, none of us are more divine or more higher in the hierarchy than the next person. You can picture us as just another student in the same classroom sharing notes. There are students that have a knack for learning a certain subject. There are others who need a little bit of assistance, right? And us light workers, we are there to provide the assistance in order to help bring everybody to a common ground.
So, with that being said, I want to kind of, I knew I did go over because my spirit was connected and I started enjoying what I am doing. So, but with that being said, I'm going to uh, make way for any questions that you have on any aspect. If you had an angel number that you um, had a question about, or you had a question about light working or anything I said, comment in the live chat session. And I am here live to help you at 9:18 Pacific Standard Time here in Las Vegas, the beautiful Las Vegas. And I'm here to answer those questions the best I can. Now, what I do want to ask is that I, in doing my part and everything, I don't ask for donations, obviously, because we're here to do a service. We're put here to do a service to humanity, and doing a service is doing something, you know, that will edify other people. But the only thing I ask is that if you can, I'm on a road to 1,000 subscribers. I'm trying to get 1,000 or followers here on Rumble, and if you can subscribe or follow my channel, right, and that way you'll be notified of any new feeds that I do, any new videos, and my feed runs prevalent on this channel. I like this joke that I own the supernatural and paranormal um, keyword, if you will, because my feed runs 24/7 with other videos on there that you can look and reference. There's also other videos on my channel that you can look and reference. And I will be playing that feed or running that feed after this live stream I'm doing here. And also, I will save this live stream so that you guys can reference that if you need to repost. So please repost. But please follow my channel. I'm definitely, they said, ask and it shall be given, or nothing ventured, nothing gained. So I'm venturing out to ask you guys, please follow my channel. I do work hard to try and get the word out and help me do my part, and you'll be doing yours, or it will help you do yours also because you'll be contributing to something, um, someone else's positive cause, as well as the cause that you're working with in order to better yourself and better your surroundings. So, if there's no other questions, I'm going to be saving this video, and I do appreciate you guys coming to this channel and taking the time to listen at some of the content that I've talked about here. And I do wish you guys a very nice and safe weekend. There is an eclipse on tomorrow. It's a solar eclipse, partial solar eclipse. Um, with the eclipses, there's energy shifts before, during, and after. So that means there's a cycle that is ending in the world, and the new positive cycle is going to be coming, or a more positive, for those who are aware or cognizant of that, a more positive cycle. And I wish you guys all the love and light in the world. Again, please follow my channel. I am on the road to 1,000 followers. It's going to help out a whole bunch. Thank you again, and God bless. Love and light. In today's world, it's important to know that every contribution, big or small, it helps. So if you can do anything that you can think of that will make someone smile or make someone's day just a little bit easier, it's always well appreciated. Also, if someone comes to you and makes your day just a little bit easier, it's great to give thanks. And so that's kind of my mantra, especially for today. Every day is a chance to make a difference. When I get up, I like to make sure that my mind is in a frame where I can be productive. And at the end of the day, I take a tally of the things that I do to make sure that I did a contribution that would help change someone's life or that would move myself forward in my spiritual journey. Also, my family. You too could help make a difference by following this Rumble channel and sharing if you like any of the videos and content that is posted today. And I would like to say in advance, thank you for making your contribution and helping us make the world a better place.